Barcelona take on Borussia Dortmund with a Ballon d'Or contender in their side. And you have been saying for the longest time, Kweku, that you're dreaming of an El Clasico final.
Yeah, I think we're going to get it. Depending on how the Real Madrid and Arsenal tie go.
Wait, hold on
a second.
Hold on a minute.
No.
Go on. I don't know. It will have definitely been released by now. There's an Arsenal Madrid preview video we did, which in that video, I don't want to spoil it for you, but a certain someone believes that a certain team is going out, meaning there wouldn't be a certain El Clasico final.
Who believes in parallel universes?
You asked me the percentages, and I gave you the percentages. I said there's a 45% chance that Arsenal go through. And there's a, what's the maths? 55% chance that Real Madrid go through. So we could get an El Clasico done based on the odds. I'm playing percentages. Anyway, we're talking about Barcelona right now. And I think we should be talking about Barcelona because they are the most exciting team to watch in world football. And that's because of their frailties. That's because of their vulnerabilities. But when it comes to those nights under lights, there's no team that I want to watch more in the Champions League than Barcelona. I think we're on the precipice of another dominant Barcelona era. I don't think it starts this season, but I think they get very, very close. If you look at how well they've done, despite the fact that ter Stegen's out for the season, they're playing Szczesny in goal. Look at the fact that Lewandowski, despite the fact that he's still scoring goals, is not the player that he used to be. And the midfielders had to rotate because of injury and just other factors. I look at this Barcelona team and I think to myself, if they add one or two requisite pieces next summer, they will be one of the best teams in the world. Look at how good Rafinha is. I think it's hard for Premier League fans to compute how good he is because we saw him at Leeds and he wasn't this player. But he is one of the best players in the world. If Barcelona win the Champions League, he will be a Ballon d'Or contender, if not winner. Lamine Yamal, I've said it so many times, maybe barring Pele, is the best 17-year-old footballer we have ever seen. So this Barcelona team got so much quality and take on the Dortmund side that despite the fact they had some decent results in the group phase, and despite the fact they've got Serhou Guirassy up top, who is one of the top goal scorers in the Champions League this season. I think he's got 10 goals in 12 games, which is incredible. I just don't think they have enough firepower to really trouble a Barcelona team that could not only win the Champions League this season, but also could win the Liga.
I think the worry for Dortmund is, and we'll stick with Barca, but the worry for Dortmund is they're 11th in the Bundesliga. They've conceded 42 goals, the 12th most in Bundesliga. It's a very typical Borussia Dortmund transition season where whoever they come up against that's better than them, they get battered, essentially. And it was Lille that they beat to get to this point. And so you kind of go, they've kind of chanced their way here. But one of the sides you don't want to take on is Barcelona with Lamine Yamal, Rafinha and Lewandowski.
I mean, you mentioned a Ballon d'Or contender in Rafinha. They've got two, haven't they? Yeah. I mean, Lamine Yamal is absolutely unbelievable. And we said it in the other video about PSG. They've sort of lost superstars in a way, and they've become more likeable. Yeah. And I feel a little bit the same with Barcelona. For the last couple of years, maybe it was because they've not been playing at the new camp. I don't know what it was, but it seemed like the mystique and allure of Barcelona had kind of gone, hadn't it? They had all these financial troubles off the pitch. They didn't have a team who you recognise. He didn't have a team with superstars. And now they've got one of their own and a player who came from Leeds and is now genuinely, in my opinion, the best player in the world at the moment. And they just have quality from everywhere. I mean, you mentioned Lewandowski's not at his best. He's 36 years old and he's still scoring regularly. In the last 4 games, Ferran Torres has scored 5 goals for Barcelona, all coming off the bench. Like, these are the quality that they have, and I just think they're going to blow Dortmund away because, as you mentioned, they're 11th in the Bundesliga. Dortmund always have one of these seasons where they get into the Champions League, then they have a real slump in the league, and they just don't have enough quality to hurt Barcelona, and I'm certain that they'll be in and around the final.
One thing is for sure, Barcelona do concede a lot of goals, and they're very leaky at the back against practically every team they played against. I watched them against Benfica in the group stage, and obviously in the previous stage, and Benfica aren't a phenomenal attacking team, but they were causing a lot of problems. Barcelona are very open at the back, still very inexperienced at the back as well. And Dortmund do prefer open football, and Karim Adeyemi's pacing behind could be quite useful. Do you worry that, obviously, from the opening statement where you mentioned El Clasico final potentially, Barca might trip themselves up on the way there? Maybe.
Like I said, this is a team that they've got veterans in it, but because their best player, in my opinion, Yamal, is so young, you view it as a young team. And I think there are, in the Champions League, there are stumbling blocks for teams that haven't gone there and done it yet. And I think this team is going to face that. I don't think Dortmund present enough of a threat to be that. But if you look at the game that Dortmund played against Real Madrid in the group stages, it was a basketball match, back and forth, back and forth. And if they get into that of Dortmund, they could be in trouble. Because like you mentioned, the pace on the break for Dortmund is frightening. And Guirassy will put the ball in the back of the net when presented with the opportunity. But I think Barcelona will be able to exert enough control and just take their chances to really put Dortmund away, and I think this game might be done after the first leg.
Really? So I'm of this opinion that, like, Barca will always leave the door slightly open. And
I think that's right. And I think, as you said, they have been a bit leaky this year, but they've scored 82 goals in the league and 32 in the Champions League. That's ridiculous. There's no doubt in my mind that that's the best attack in Europe, arguably with Madrid's, but these have outperformed Madrid's front three. And I just think that if there's no way really for me to see Dortmund winning unless they completely shut up shop. Barcelona's front three, front four, front five have a poor game, and then they go to Signal Iduna Park on a draw, because that is probably, atmosphere-wise, the toughest place to go in Europe.
Definitely intimidating.
So definitely hugely intimidating. And I think, as you mentioned, yeah, they do have Robert Lewandowski, but apart from that, it's a fairly young team. It's a fairly juvenile team who haven't won a huge amount. I think that could be very intimidating for them. But I do feel like in this game, I feel like at home, they're just going to cruise control.
Let's very quickly go back to Rafinha. You mentioned Ballon d'Or contender. You also mentioned Ballon d'Or contender. I've said Ballon d'Or contender. If he wins the Champions League, and one thing I would definitely factor in that, in the Champions League, he's been particularly special. Some of the things he's been doing. Was it the Benfica game? Where he chested it down? Yeah, it was an unbelievable touch and finish.
Oh no, that was the was that Bayern? Was that game against Bayern?
Whichever game it was. I just remember a ridiculous touch and finish.
Yeah.
If he doesn't win the Champions League, is he still Ballon d'Or favourite for you?
The thing is,
like, how big is the Champions League for that to happen?
I don't think it should be, but I do think that trophies almost always have the final say when it comes to Ballon d'Or. Me and you speak about this a lot when it comes to this, when it comes to Ballon d'Or and ranking teams and ranking players, is that he does both. He has the stats, he has the big moments, and he also massively passes the eye test, probably more than anyone else in the world right now, apart from Lamine Yamal. So I think the fact that he has that combination of being a total joy to watch, and the fact that he has stats, and the fact that he's playing for one of the biggest clubs in the world, if they get to the final, I think he'd be well within a shout. The only issue is if Real Madrid win the Champions League and Vinicius scores a few goals in the run-up to that, he's surely a shoo-in for it as well. So it's going to be difficult.
It's going to be tough. I think Vinicius has kind of tailed off this season. I think if Real Madrid win it, they'll give it to Mbappe. And again, this is a very NBA chat. But the reason why I feel like Rafinha won't win the Ballon d'Or if Barcelona win the Champions League is that football is looking for a new face. Yeah. And post Messi and Ronaldo, we've struggled to find out who it is. I don't know if Mbappe is that. Maybe he's filling that void right now, but I don't think he's got the ability to be in the top 5 conversation of all time when all is said and done. Lamine Yamal does. And I feel like they will find a way to give this boy that award if he performs at a high level and Barcelona win the Champions League. I think football's looking for a new face. I think this kid is it. And if Barcelona win the Champions League, I think it'll be very difficult not to give a man who also won the Euros as one of the best players for Spain the Ballon d'Or award.
All right, let's get score predictions for the first leg. Kim, I'll start with you.
I think Barcelona will just win 3-0. I think it'll be very comfortable for them.
Yeah, I think Dortmund will score. I'll go Barcelona 3-1.
I was thinking 3-1 as well. I think Dortmund score because it'll be an open game, but I just think Barca are just too strong.